नमस्कार फ्रेंड्स, आप सभी का स्वागत है इंडिया सेंटर फॉर पॉलिसी रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट ICPRD के एक और पॉडकास्ट में। आज हमारे साथ हैं ग्रुप कैप्टन विश्वजीत कुमार, नेशनल एडवाइजर हैं ICPRD के एविएशन और स्ट्रेटेजिक अफेयर्स में। सर, भारत आज के बदलते हुए वैश्विक दौर में अपनी कूटनीति और डिप्लोमेसी के जरिए विश्व मित्र बनने की कोशिश कर रहा है। अगर सर इस पर्टिकुलर सिचुएशन में हम जो अभी बजट आया है हाल ही में उसको देखते हैं उसकी लाइट में, तो हमें बहुत से नए चेंजेस देखने को मिलते हैं। उनमें से एक बहुत बड़ा चेंज जिसकी अभी चाहे हम सोशल मीडिया देखें या फिर डिप्लोमेटिक लेवल पर काफ़ी बातचीत हुई थी, वो था मालदीव्स का इशू। हम देखते हैं कि इस पर्टिकुलर बजट में लगभग 50% कटौती की गई है मालदीव्स को, जो पहले ग्रांट या लोन्स अलोकेट किए जाते थे उसमें। इसके बदले सेशेल्स और श्रीलंका जैसे देशों में दिए जाने वाले ग्रांट में 300% की वृद्धि की गई है। तो आप ओवरऑल इस सिनेरियो को कैसे देखते हैं?
Good afternoon, Rajat. Looking at the budget and what figures you are saying, अगर आप देखोगे तो ये सारी चीज़ें नेचुरल है
जी।
पिछले कुछ महीनों में जिस तरह के हालात डेवलप हुए भारत और मालदीव्स के बीच में, वहाँ की सरकार ने जिस तरीके से अपने डोमेस्टिक इलेक्शन में एक कैंपेन बनाया कि जो भारत की वहाँ एक टुकड़ी थी जो वहाँ के एयरक्राफ्ट जो हमने दिए थे उसको फ्लाई करने के लिए और उसको सपोर्ट, जो उसको मेंटेनेंस सपोर्ट के लिए जो हमारे लोग थे
जी,
तो उनको उन्होंने एक स्लोगन बनाया कि हम उनको देश से वापस करेंगे,
इंडिया आउट।
जी। सो ये इस तरह की जो कैंपेन चलती हैं तो नेचुरली कहीं ना कहीं रिश्ते पे असर तो होगा, बट नेचुरल है, आप उसको आइसोलेशन में तो देख नहीं सकते। और उसके बावजूद उनके कुछ मंत्री और लोगों की तो बात नहीं कर सकते, अगर मंत्री जो कुछ स्टेटमेंट दिए वो भी काफ़ी हेल्दी नहीं था। सो देयरफॉर अ काइंड ऑफ एटमॉस्फेयर डेवलप वेयर there was a sort of a disconnect in terms of it appeared that and the media also quoted a lot of developments in Maldives political circle, the President Muju who came in post the last election. So his statements, his ministers' statements and actions speak louder than words. So those things were not very conducive to our past relationship with Maldives. Therefore the reduction in the budget that you see is a natural fallout. अगर आप कोई नई पड़ोसी हमारा चाहेगा मदद तो हम जबरदस्ती तो मदद करेंगे नहीं, सीधी सी बात है। देयर आर अदर पीपल हु आर वेटिंग टू बी हेल्प्ड, सो देयरफॉर द गवर्नमेंट्स प्रायोरिटाइजेशन ऑफ द रिसोर्सेज व्हिच इज ऑलवेज अ लिमिटिंग फैक्टर। सो you cannot have indefinite budget for indefinite countries and people. So therefore it's a reorganization of the priorities looking at the ground realities of today. And therefore, what it has been done vis-a-vis Maldives is quite natural.
Right.
Quite natural.
और इसी में श्रीलंका को अगर हम देखें, जो वहाँ की चीज़ें बदली हैं और चाइना का पहले जिस तरह का कंट्रोल रहता था, स्पेशली उनके डेट क्राइसिस के बाद वो कंट्रोल थोड़ा डाउन होता फील हुआ और भारत के साथ रिश्ते बेटर हुए हैं। तो ये भी एक तरह का नेचुरल प्रोग्रेशन है जो उनका वृद्धि हुई।
एब्सोल्युटली, जैसा कि आपने सेशल्स का नाम लिया, मॉरिशस है और मालदीव्स, श्रीलंका, ये सारे जो कंट्री हैं वो हमारे IOR के कंट्रीज हैं। वी हैव अ ग्रुपिंग कॉल्ड इंडियन ओशन रीजन जिसमें 23 कंट्रीज हैं, द लास्ट बीइंग द फ्रेंच वन, ठीक है, बिकॉज उनके आइलैंड्स में हैं, इसलिए उन्होंने भी ज्वाइन किया 2020 में। तो इनमें से ये कंट्रीज हमारे लिए इसलिए इम्पोर्टेंट हो जाते हैं क्योंकि हमारे लिटरल एरिया में हैं। और सेशल्स, मॉरिशस, अगर ये सब आप देखें तो इनके साथ हमारे रिश्ते बहुत पुराने हैं। अब इतिहास को अगर आप देखोगे तो सेशल्स में 1770 ईस्वी में 5 इंडियंस एज ए प्लांटेशन वर्कर्स गए मुंबई से सेशल्स में, उनको ले जाया गया। और उसके बाद से समझिए 1770 के बाद 1970s में 76 में जब उनको इंडिपेंडेंस मिली तो इतने सालों के बाद हमारा उनका रिश्ता रहा है। और ब्रिटिश रूल के टाइम में भी मुंबई ही पोर्ट होता था जहाँ से उनकी सारी सप्लाई जाती थी सेशल्स में। सो इस तरह के बैकग्राउंड में जहाँ हमारे रिश्ते इतने मजबूत रहे हैं एक कंट्री के साथ, अच्छे रहे हैं और हिस्टोरिकल रहे हैं, उससे भी अगर आप श्रीलंका पे आओ तो श्रीलंका के साथ तो हमारे करीब 2500 साल पुराने रिश्ते हैं,
बिल्कुल,
है ना। सो दे पार्ट ऑफ आवर मैथोलॉजी ऑल्सो।
जी,
तो इस तरह के रिश्ते में थोड़ी बहुत बीच में उतार चढ़ाव होता है जियो पॉलिटिकल रीजन्स के कारण, जो अगर आप श्रीलंका के केस में कहना चाह रहे हो, जहाँ पे कि चाइना फैक्टर के कारण, जहाँ उन्होंने अपने स्ट्रिंग ऑफ पर्ल्स, जो अपनी पोर्ट्स उन्होंने डेवलप शुरू करी पाकिस्तान में, ग्वादर से लेकर के हम्बनटोटा
हम्बनटोटा,
इन
जी, बिल्कुल।
श्रीलंका में, देन चिटगांव इन बांग्लादेश, and one port in Myanmar. So that is a lookout of a country. Any country would like to develop its own strategic reach in different sectors of the world. But we as a nation, India also has to look after its interest.
Right.
And therefore, strategic location of Sri Lanka becomes very important for us because it is near touching our coastal area. Indian Ocean is a close neighbor. And we have a long historical and cultural relationship with Sri Lanka. Of course, there have been few blips here and there with the country, but then as of today, our relationship with Sri Lanka is very good. We are now moving for the comprehensive free trade agreement also with Sri Lanka,
Yes.
Which will be built up of the previous trade agreement, and trade balance is greatly in favor of India. And being near to India, Sri Lanka is also benefited by importing majority of their requirements from India. The recent economic crisis in Sri Lanka, you saw the first help and the most important help was always from India as ever.
Right.
So they have also realized, the government of the day in Sri Lanka and the people of Sri Lanka, which they knew from before. But the government, with changes of politics and slight ups and downs do happen. With Rajapaksa as president, there was a slight perceived tilt towards China. But with the economic crisis which Sri Lanka faced recently, and with the change of government now in Sri Lanka, you find the things have again tilted back in our favor because of the, not that we are trying to give them something out of the box, but it is a natural realization by the Sri Lankan government that India has to be there, and India has a track record of being a genuine friend.
Right.
Without any vested interest. The interests have been pure practical in terms of mutual cooperation, mutual development, and therefore it's a very healthy relationship which is based on mutual trust and confidence, and therefore there is no looking back on the relationship between Sri Lanka and India. Seychelles in India is again a very maturing relationship, old relationship, as I told you,
Right.
the historical background. We have defense cooperation also with them. We are putting up our navy and also developing their airstrip, which is southwest of Seychelles. So, which is along the international trade route,
Right.
below Africa. So, therefore, all these countries, again, Mauritius, again, is our, the historical relationship. The majority of people from India as workers, they landed up in Mauritius. And they today hold the trade and commerce of that country. So we have historical, cultural relationship with all these countries.
Right.
So primarily, we have a very good relation from past, and at the moment also is also good. Slight here and there in relationship, which keeps happening with every country with passing time. But in overall, we have very good relationship with this country, which is also need of the hour, which is in our interest as well as their interest.
Right, sir. So when we look at Indian Ocean region, that's why India is following Sagar doctrine, security and growth for all in the region.
Absolutely.
So be it search and rescue operations, disaster management, India has always been the first country to help them.
respond.
Right.
Whether it is Maldives, even when they had a
Coup there. Yes.
Then the water crisis,
Right.
the salination plant failed. So at any small or larger crisis, India has always been the first country to call, to go to their help. And therefore, the people of these countries, they do realize that importance of India is always there. Government, because of the political consideration, at times you will find their ups and downs in relationship. But overall, there is no getting away from the fact that India is a time-tested and as a true friend of all these countries.
Right. So after talking about government changes, be it in India or be it in these countries, let's talk about a different type of government, which is Taliban. So we have seen what has happened in Afghanistan for these many years now, and we have always supported Afghanistan for a long time because our connection has always been with the people. That's what our policy has been. But this time around 9% fund allocation was decreased. It is around 200 crore rupees now. So how do you assess Afghanistan question for India in general and overall for the world?
See, understand, post the Taliban coming in the government of Afghanistan, there had to be a natural dip. Basically, because we as a nation, we have not recognized that government officially, and we have whatever relationship we are maintaining is an indirect relationship.
Right.
We have sent humanitarian assistance to them by sending food grains in large quantity to them, the medical aid and other humanitarian aid to Afghanistan. But not having accepted the regime, basically because of the certain principles which they follow and which they have not clarified in terms with respect to our requirements of democratic values and other things, that treatment to fair treatment to the gender equality, the ladies, the girl education, and other. There are so many aspects on which Taliban has been not conforming to the international standards, and therefore, what I understand is that we have not been able to open direct our diplomatic relationship with them. So this percentage drop in budget is not a big issue, basically because unless you have a full diplomatic relationship with the country, the project's development, negotiation, other things also takes a backseat.
Right.
So at the moment, we have maintained our people-to-people contact by giving whatever they have required as a humanitarian assistance. We have not let ourselves throw back on that. We have been forthcoming. We have given whatever they desired. So the contact between the government through back channel is always there, but we will have to wait for that day where we have a proper relationship with the two government and the diplomatic channels open up, and then you will find again back to the old times where we had a great involvement in developing infrastructure and other things in Afghanistan. If the government of Afghanistan tomorrow make changes to their stated policy vis-a-vis the women, girls and other aspects of the where we used to be in terms of budgetary support for the Afghanistan government.
Right. अभी जैसे हमने अफगानिस्तान की बात की जहाँ चीज़ें थोड़ी सी बदल रही हैं, चेंज हुई. अब लेट्स से हम ऐसे कंट्रीज़ की बात करते हैं जिनके साथ फॉर डिकेड्स एंड नाउ सेंचुरीज हमारे रिलेशनशिप बहुत अच्छे रहे हैं, जिसमें से एक है भूटान और दूसरा है नेपाल. बट इन दोनों कंट्रीज़ के साथ हमेशा चाइना क्वेश्चन आ जाता है सामने. भूटान में हमने इस बार देखा कि इस पर्टिकुलर बजट में अराउंड 2000 करोड़ का अलोकेशन है, जिसमें से लगभग 1000 करोड़ ग्रांट के तौर पे दिए जाएंगे और 800-900 करोड़ रुपए लोन के तौर पे. यहाँ थोड़ा सा डिप आया है अराउंड 14% का. नेपाल के केस में 7-8% की बढ़ोतरी हुई है और उसे 700 करोड़ रुपए दिए जाएंगे. नेपाल में हाल ही में गवर्नमेंट भी चेंज हुई है वापस. तो सर अब दोनों सिचुएशन को चाइना के पर्सपेक्टिव में आप कैसे देखते हैं?
See, we have to understand that being a neighboring country and a country between India and China, these two countries will always be under that force of Chinese and Indians. That's sort of somebody calls about a negative rivalry. I'll call it a positive rivalry, sort of positive pressure.
Competition,
so,
sort
competition.
of.
So keeping that kind of a thing in mind, and also the old historical relationship which India has had with Nepal and also with Bhutan, it is bound that we will continue to give them as much support for their development needs will be there. With again, as I said in earlier cases of Sri Lanka, with the change of government or political constitution, you find similar situation happening in Nepal also. Because when the monarchy went from there, was thrown out, and there's a democracy came in, and then the democracy has not been as stable as a country would have liked to. So there have been many changes of government in last about 2 decades of the transition in government in Nepal, which is not a healthy thing for the country itself, but then it does have its drawbacks. When you have unsettled government, the policies keep changing, shifting over a period of time. And of course, China, a factor because of their Belt and Road Initiative, whereas Nepal has opted for going for their BRI initiative, and we have not gone in. So there is a disconnect there. So you will find that we will be helping financially Nepal government in the projects where it is mutually beneficial, like in terms of power generation, hydropower projects, where we can take power from them because they have good water reserves because of the rivers flowing out of Himalaya through Nepal. So mutually beneficial projects will keep going on.
Right.
Yes, percentage of assistance or loan, a grant will keep varying over a period of time, depending on the government of the day. You understand that,
right?
So that's a very natural phenomena. Nothing to worry about much. But relationship, which has been a historically proven relationship between the two countries, we have Beti and Roti ka relationship in the Tarai region of UP and Bihar with Nepal. So that is unshakable. That cannot be. No government of India or Nepal can try and separate them. It is but natural. So with that kind of a backdrop, our relationship with Nepal will remain good for times to come. Yes, there could be a bit of dip and rise depending upon the government of the day.
Right.
And but the effort from both the governments has to be to maintain a certain semblance of good order, so that the people who have had historically so well connected over a period of time, so that relationship will remain. As far as Bhutan is concerned, Bhutan has always been very, very proactive with India in terms of all their foreign statesmen. Rather, they have been supportive of India's cause, and rightfully so, because we have been a very good friend to them, like any other neighbor that we have been. India never had any hidden agenda in terms of their foreign policy.
Right.
We have said what we meant. So all these governments and Bhutan also realizes that aspect, and therefore all our assistance to Bhutan in terms of developing their infrastructure, hydropower projects, airport, anything and everything that Bhutan needed during Corona, the vaccine and other things, we have been very forthcoming.
Right.
And we have positively helped that country. And today, Bhutan being a showpiece of organic development world over,
right,
it's one of the most green initiative country. So they have really achieved great. That happiness quotient is very high. So Bhutan has done great wonders for themselves, and they are our good neighbor, and they are always very pro India, and it's mutually beneficial, and we appreciate that.
Right.
We value that kind of relationship, and similarly we value our relationship with Nepal too, with whatever little limitation of the political considerations.
Right.
But then at people to people and government to government also, I think our relationship with both the countries are in a very excellent phase.
Just to add on to it, with Bhutan, obviously, we are maintaining the security scenario there.
Yeah.
And with Nepal, if we consider the budget in overall scenario, Honorable Finance Minister has granted aid for Bihar and UP for flood situation. And all those floods, basically, the rivers are being originated from Nepal.
Yeah.
So in that scenario, if we are giving more aid to Nepal for better management of these rivers and different hydel projects, eventually this will come for our states as well.
Absolutely.
So, obviously. Right, sir. So let's go beyond.
Absolutely, because if you see the plains of Bihar and UP, they're ravaged every monsoon because of the flooding.
Right.
And all this flooding originates because of the rivers coming from high altitude in Nepal and flash floods into the plains of Bihar and UP.
Right.
To contain that, India in a standalone mode cannot do anything, because water has to take its gradient.
Water doesn't know the boundaries.
Yeah,
obviously.
absolutely. So we have to help Nepal in building certain dams over those rivers, which takes care of the large flow of water, and it is regulated in a controlled manner so that it doesn't result in flooding.
Right.
So that can be done by creating dams, by generating hydropower projects, which gives the revenue to Nepal, and we by our purchasing that electricity, and again byproduct is that we control our flooding.
Right.
So it is a mutually win-win situation for both the countries by giving that assistance to Nepal, and Nepal also taking that assistance.
Right. So now let's take a bigger picture of world in general and talk about actually election of this particular year after India's election, US election.
Okay.
And obviously now, as Joe Biden has said, he's not going to contest. So Kamala Harris from Democrats and the previous president of Donald Trump is there. So how do you assess this particular situation for the world in general and for India in particular? who will be more beneficial? One question. This may be a little controversial question and also a problematic one, but maybe. And also how the overall, let's say, international trade, international security and economic scenarios might change by either Harris or by Trump.
You asked a question which is quite a big question.
Right, sir.
It's got a large envelope. But putting it in a nutshell, I would say that see, America is world's oldest democracy.
Right.
Ours is largest democracy. So that is one common meeting ground in terms of democratic values, that we are entrenched in a very strong footing. So having said that, over a period of time, over last few years, the kind of relationship which has evolved between India and US, it transcends any kind of government. Whether it is Democrats or Republican there in US or in India, any kind of government, I think the Indo-US relationship is on a very, very strong footing, and which is beyond any government.
Right.
I would put it that way. Of course, a government of the day does make a difference. And to that extent, there could be certain changes here and there. But overall, I think even with Mr. Trump winning, if he wins in the coming November elections, and he's been president earlier also, we have had very good relations with him also at that time as the president. So I have no doubt as such between Indo-US relationship. That trajectory will keep going up, which has been going up in last many years now. Our cooperation have improved from mutual to a strategic level now in high-end technology, defense field.
Right.
So with that kind of integration between the two countries, the cooperation is of a very high level, very high-end technology level. And therefore, we have come to a strategic relationship where governments will not make much difference. It is the policy, which is a written document, which guides the government of the day. And therefore, not major downside I don't see at all. If at all, there will be upside only. And we will all have a good relationship. As far as the world, you said, scenario, you said, see, there are certain differences of approach between the Democrats and the Republican. It's a stated policy that if you look at the Russia-Ukraine war,
right.
The Biden administration has been very proactive in terms of supporting the Ukraine with the weapons and hardware. But the Republican under Trump has been very straightforward in saying that, no, I'm not going to get into this.
Right.
We would want war to end, and we will not give that kind of military support. So that is a very, very clear statement by the president. So we can expect some good result by Trump coming in. At least the war somehow will be brought to a closure. Which has to be an ultimate interest of both the countries,
right.
Ukraine, Russia also, and at the same time not only Europe but the entire world, because that kind of almost 2 years plus two countries engaged in a war, and with Russia being the major supplier of energy for the world, and Ukraine also in food grain, I think it is not in the interest of any country in the world, that these two countries keep fighting endlessly. So it will be good for also both the countries and Europe and world at large, that the war is brought to an end. And towards that, if Mr. Trump plays a positive role, as he has stated, if the war is stopped tomorrow, I think that will be a very, very welcome development, which the world will appreciate.
Right.
In times to come.
Interestingly, if we look at US election and their India's connect, so if you look at Britain, so Rishi Sunak, he was the Prime Minister earlier, and here Kamala Harris has Indian origin, and also the Vice President candidate of Donald Trump, V.D. Vance, his wife is of Indian origin. So there is always an Indian connect which is growing in USA because of their strategic interest, their overall power, so be it a soft power or be it monetary power. That is definitely a good sign. And in that scenario, if we look at Indo-US relationship, so as you rightly pointed out, this is definitely going to increase all the time. Thank you, sir. Right. So
No, I would like
Yeah.
to add on this that you said that Indian origin,
Right.
Kamala Harris and Vance's wife, I think Mrs. Usha or something.
right.
No, it is good. See, Indians are generally known for their emotions.
Yes.
So it is good to connect ourselves with them because of their roots.
Right.
That's perfectly fine. And likewise, that if you say, even in Canada, there are a lot of ministers from our Indian origin. The Prime Minister of ex-Prime Minister of Ireland was Indian origin.
Right.
Portugal was Indian
Yes.
origin. So that way, I think in next about 10-20 years, you can expect few presidents of 4-5 countries coming from Indian origin. That's good. Nothing wrong in it.
Right.
That's good for optics. But in the hard international politics, you realize ultimately it is the interest of the two nations which matters.
True.
Individual roots, relations is perfectly fine. But the national interest becomes
Surpasses
paramount.
everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So thereby, if we as a nation is powerful in terms of economy, security, defense, and all that, I think almost every country will respect us, and the relationship will keep growing.
Right.
So the real substance lies in how well we keep developing. The rate at which we are developing now, about 7% plus. If we keep this momentum going and further, if we are able to raise it and become the third largest economy a few years down the line, by 2025 we are expected to become the fourth, beating Germany. And thereafter becomes the Japan, about 4.1 trillion now. We are about 3.5 trillion. So by about few years down the line, 25, we should be crossing Germany. And 26, 27, we should be able to cross Japan. So by 2028,
right,
we are expected to become the third largest economy in the world. Not only third, but our government of the day is pitching for about 30 trillion economy by
2047.
Yeah. So with that kind of economy, I think we are bound to have good relationship with all the major countries of the world. And also because our foreign policy is a very time-tested policy where we always respect, mutual respect for each other. That is the best goodwill that we have for any country.
Right.
And so applies to the US also, with our, as it is, our very strong diaspora in USA. So they are always there as a glue factor between Indo-US relationship. So our relationship is bound to keep growing from strength to strength.
Right. So जैसे आपने थर्ड लार्जेस्ट इकोनॉमी की बात की, तो फर्स्ट यूएसए की हमने बात की ही, सेकंड हम चाइना पर आते हैं वापस. तो चाइना ऑब्वियसली सेकंड लार्जेस्ट इकोनॉमी होने के कारण काफ़ी पावरफुल फाइनेंशियल पावर है अदर देन सिक्योरिटी एंड डिफेंस पावर. बट सर, इंडिया के केस में क्या कुछ डिप्लोमेटिक कन्फ्यूजन नज़र आती है? बिकॉज हमने पहले कोविड के टाइम पे और जब इश्यूज कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स हुए उस ड्यूरेशन में हमने आत्मनिर्भरता की बात की, सेल्फ रिलायंस की बात की, बायकॉट चाइना की बात की. और अभी इकोनॉमिक सर्वे जो रिसेंटली आया है बजट के पहले, वो कहता है कि हमें चाइनीज़ इन्वेस्टमेंट की ज़रूरत है इंडिया में. साथ ही मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ कॉमर्स, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स को ये लिखती है कि हमें जो चाइनीज़ प्रोफेशनल्स हैं उनको वीज़ा ज़्यादा जल्दी दे देना चाहिए ताकि वो यहाँ पर अपना जो कार्य हैं वो प्रॉपरली कर सकें. So do you think that India's diplomatic policy towards China has been a little bit either contradictory or, to say, a little confusing?
No, I would not say contradictory or confusing. I would only say that it may appear that way. Basically because now with this statement coming up in this economic survey report, where it says that it has recommended that Chinese investment should be permitted in a greater degree.
Right.
Which I think is a very, very logical thing. Now you look at the trade turnover between India and China, being the largest trading partner and having crossed almost $125 billion.
Right.
And the trade balance is adversely against India.
Very highly.
We are importing heavily from China. So now if you look at it, why we are importing heavily from China? Because there are many factors. For first and foremost that you will realize is that Chinese become a world's factory because of the past about Deng Xiaoping time, where he gave a lot of push to the modernization, industrialization of China. And whereas major American companies went to China for cheap labor and material to produce. And therefore, over a period of time, last about 30-40 years, China has grown into a world's as a powerhouse factory. Yes, every trade happens basically because of the costing factor, where one finds it cheaper to import. And therefore, we have landed up getting a lot of stuff from China because being cheap. But in the long run, if you see, it is not in the interest of India to keep importing things.
Right.
You have to pay for hard foreign currency. That is one. Second, your own economy, the GDP is the three pillars like agriculture, service, and manufacturing sector. If you look India's case, 50% of our population is still dependent on agriculture, which contributes just about 20% to our economy.
Even
GDP.
lesser now.
Whereas manufacturing is just about 13%.
Bilkul, sir.
Okay. And service sector is about 50%,
Right.
which is good.
Right.
But to take off our 50% population from agriculture to manufacturing or service, we need to have greater investment in our manufacturing sector. So what we are probably today importing items from China, maybe anything and everything. I mean, a small, maybe daily need item, you will find a nail cutter also maybe being imported from there.
Right.
So you see those kind of things, which is not at all very thing. It's not a technology intensive or something. Why should we import? Why not manufacture locally? So therefore, I think it's a good idea. See, in today's times of world integration, globalization, you cannot isolate any country. Yes, there have been problems with China, with our border dispute in Ladakh sector, and government has reacted strongly to that and safeguarded our interest in terms of border security and giving a strong statement to China that this kind of relationship cannot continue with the kind of disquiet at the border. Even as on yesterday also, both the foreign ministers have met, and our foreign minister had strongly conveyed the sentiments that the border has to be peaceful for relationship in other fields to expand. So this kind of observation in economic survey I think is a logical thing to have the investment coming from China, which will lead to setting of factories here, production base here, which will give employment to our people. At the same time, that will lead to skill development, more employment, and that item which we are buying from China in a produced form, they will be produced locally. So our manufacturing base will go up. So I think it's a very prudent thought, and I think it needs to be encouraged for the investment from China, because we cannot wish it away that it's a $18 trillion economy today. So being the second largest economy, there's nothing wrong. If they don't invest in our country, they will invest somewhere else. So with the proper safeguard, if certain sectors of our economy, keeping aside the sensitive sectors away, there are many other sectors where Chinese investment can be welcomed with proper safeguard, and that is what probably economic survey is hinting at. And I think government is looking at it because it is figured in the economic survey, and I think that will be good for both the countries, Chinese also and for us also.
Right, sir. Yeah. Right, sir. Great, sir. But last question के तौर पे हमने अभी देखा कि सक्सेसफुल G20 प्रेसिडेंसी इंडिया ने की, और ओवरऑल भारत कोशिश कर रहा है कि वो सभी अलग अलग कंट्रीज़ के साथ अच्छे रिलेशनशिप बिल्ड करे, डिफरेंट ग्रुपिंग्स, चाहे वो इकोनॉमिक फ्रंट पे हो या फिर ग्रीन एनर्जी से रिलेटेड हो, क्लाइमेट चेंज, डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट में, वो ट्राई कर रहे हैं. ऐसी सिचुएशन में सर आप इंडिया की लीडरशिप को, भारत की लीडरशिप को आगे कैसे आता देखते हैं आगे कुछ सालों में?
देखो रजत, आप इस बात को समझो कि जैसा हमारा G20 वाला समिट लास्ट हुआ था, वो वॉज अ ग्रैंड सक्सेस. वर्ल्ड ने, पूरी जितनी कंट्रीज आए थे सारे, सब ने बड़ी तारीफ की. वर्ल्ड ओवर इसकी चर्चाएं हुई और सारे हेड्स ऑफ स्टेट जो आए थे, सब ने बहुत तारीफ की कि बहुत अच्छे से इंडिया ने किया. जो डिक्लेरेशन था वो विदाउट हिच आया और सारे ने उसको एक्सेप्ट किया, जो बहुत रेयर रहा है. किसी भी प्रीवियस G20 मीटिंग में कुछ ना कुछ उसमें हिकअप्स रहे हैं, लास्ट मिनट चेंजेस रहे हैं, इनकम्प्लीट रहा है. बट इंडिया के केस में इट वाज अ कंप्लीट यूनानिमिटी. सो दैट वे इट वाज वन ऑफ दोज एक्सेप्शनल मीटिंग दैट वी हैड. So in every sense, it was a grand achievement per se in that meeting. Having said that, beyond, as you are saying, beyond this meeting, what? Right. I think India has reached a position where it is in today's multipolar world. It's not a bipolar anymore. It is a multipolar world, and in that sense, India is also one of the poles today. Indeed. And as you saw in G20 meeting, that South cooperation, where this Africa was made part of the G20. So India has become a voice for the southern countries, and therefore as a leader of those countries, Africa, Latin America, Asian countries, India becomes a natural voice.
Hmm.
So that way, in today's multipolar world, India has got a very good opportunity to project itself and position itself in a proactive manner, not only in the Indian Ocean region, in the Asia region or the neighboring hood, but also at the world stage, and which is being accepted without any sort of hitch by major countries of the world. Even the European countries, if you see India's demand for permanent membership of Security Council, is being backed by almost every country barring China.
Right.
So out of the five
P5
countries, the only China has got issues, which is for them to understand that it doesn't cut much ice. But then the day is not far. India has to be has to be a logical member of P5. It is just a matter of time whenever that reforms in UN takes place. Having said that, the kind of economy that India is growing at, and the economy is at present, and few years down the line, there is no way that India can be kept aside. India has arrived. India is a world leader, and it will only grow in strength to strength. And it is a matter of just time that India is already accepted by all the major countries of the world, and India will keep playing a much greater role in the affairs of the world, whether any difficult areas. If you see last G20, we have that IMEC resolution where this Gulf cooperation from India to Gulf to Europe and later on to Africa and America also, which was unthinkable. Nobody could think about it, that this kind of agreement will be reached. But India thrashed it out. Yes, it is unfortunate that Israel and Hamas conflict has taken place, which has disturbed it for a while. But I think it's a matter of time that will also get settled, and IMEC will also see light of the day. And so this kind of initiative, which is, people will say, a counter to BRI initiative of China, fair enough, why not? We have to look after our interest, which is a time-tested relationship with the Gulf countries or with the ASEAN countries. The historical aspects of our Palas, southern Indian states, traded right up to Japan, Indonesia, to all these countries. So we are only reviving our historical links. What Chinese are doing,
spice route is always a case for instead of Silk Route.
So with this kind of a background, our stature in the world politics will keep growing. We are already a world player, and with our economy growing, our military will get strengthened. So with these two strength of a nation, you arrive on the world stage, and we are very much there. Our only role is bound to increase and not reduce in the times to come.
Great, sir. Great. Thank you so much, Group Captain Vishwajit Kumar, for participating in this and giving us a glimpse of what future lies for India on the international fora, and specifically talking about few budgetary points for external affairs, diplomacy, and foreign relationship. So thank you so much, friends. It was a podcast by ICPRD. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rajat. Thank you for having me here, and very well asked questions, and I think I could answer to your satisfaction. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.